Let's kick things off with the light whip. Basically what happens when Indiana Jones and a Jedi have a baby. This flexible nightmare first slithered into Star Wars back in 1985, wielded by the Sith Lady Lumia in the old Marvel comics. Yeah, we're going way back for this one. The light whip made its live-action debut in The Acolyte Episode 6, where Master Vernestra Rwoh finally brought this bad boy to the small screen. And let me tell you, watching that purple energy whip crack through the air, mwah, chef's kiss. So how does this thing even work? Instead of one large crystal, they contained multiple small crystals, and the plasma in the blade had no cell barriers to keep it straight. Think of it like a lightsaber that went to yoga class and got really flexible. The blade uses a flexible containment field that lets the plasma flow like a rope rather than staying rigid. Here's the kicker. Ancient Jedi would use light whips as countermeasures to Sith, who use forbidden forms. That's right, this weapon was specifically designed to counter some seriously dark side kung fu. Vernestra Rwoh's version is particularly clever. She modified her standard lightsaber to have a secondary light whip mode activated by twisting the first ring on the hilt. It's like having a Swiss Army knife, but every tool is designed to ruin a Sith's day. The downside, this thing is harder to control than a caffeinated Ewok. One wrong move and you're giving yourself an impromptu haircut. Or worse. Plus, light whip blades were even known to short out violently when struck with enough force. So yeah, handle with extreme care. Before Kylo Ren made Crossguard sabers mainstream and angsty, this ancient design was already making waves thousands of years ago. We're talking Old Republic era stuff here, folks, when Jedi and Smith armies clashed by the thousands. The Crossguard lightsaber was an ancient lightsaber variant with 3 blades, a primary blade and 2 vents just below it called quillons. Those side vents weren't just for show, they served multiple purposes. Protection for your hands? Check. Extra offensive options? Double check. Looking absolutely badass? Triple check with the cherry on top. Here's where it gets interesting. It proved especially popular among practitioners of the lightsaber combat style known as Makashi or Form 2. For those keeping score at home, that's the dueling form, all about precision and one-on-one combat. The Crossguard gave duelists extra defensive options while maintaining that elegant fencing style approach. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, Kylo Ren's unstable red monster. Kylo Ren wielded a lightsaber where the quillon served an additional function as vents to balance out an unstable, cracked kyber crystal. That's not a design choice, folks, that's engineering necessity. When you bleed your crystal and crack it in the process, because of course Kylo did, you need those vents to keep the whole thing from exploding in your face. Fun fact, Sith Lord Darth Atris owned a pair of Crossguard lightsabers imbued with his anger. These things were so saturated with dark side energy that they could drive their wielders insane, because apparently regular lightsabers weren't dangerous enough. Imagine you're an elderly Jedi master, your knees aren't what they used to be, but you've still got to be ready to throw down with the occasional Sith Lord. Enter the Kane lightsaber, the galaxy's most elegant solution to mobility and self-defense. The elderly Jedi Tera Sinube used one such weapon during the Clone Wars, and honestly, icon behavior. This Kojin Jedi Master turned his walking aid into a secret weapon that would make James Bond jealous. The handle of Sinube's saber cane was T-shaped and, along with the collar, was made of wood from his home world. The beauty of this design is in its deception. To the untrained eye, it's just a walking stick. But when trouble comes knocking, Sinube surprised his opponents, who attacked him as though he was unarmed, by separating the lightsaber from his cane and wielding both parts in concert. That's right, not only do you get a lightsaber, but you keep the cane as a bludgeoning weapon. Talk about having your cake and beating someone with it too. But it gets better. According to the Star Wars Force and Destiny sourcebook Unlimited Power, some Jedi found creative ways to carry their lightsabers around after Order 66. Elderly Jedi who survived the Purge would hide their sabers in walking sticks, keeping their identity secret while staying armed. Though, as the sourcebook notes, the concealment does come with a cost. The awkward size and inconsistent weighting often interferes with use in heated combat. Still, when you're trying to avoid Imperial Inquisitors, a little awkwardness in combat beats getting force choked by Vader any day of the week. Why carry 2 lightsabers when you can have one that splits in half? The split saber is a transformer of the lightsaber world, more than meets the eye and twice as deadly. Split sabers commonly came in the form of double-bladed lightsabers that could be split into a pair of single-bladed lightsabers. It's like having a staff that breaks into dual-wielding madness at a moment's notice. The versatility here is off the charts. Asajj Ventress made these things look good with her curved hilt lightsabers. Ventress owned a pair of curved hilt lightsabers that could attach together at the hilt. However, she rarely wielded her weapons in this fashion, doing only so briefly during the Battle of Teth. Girl knew that would work for her, dual wielding all day, every day. But the real MVP of split sabers? Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order. This mad lad built a double-bladed lightsaber from the pieces of his master Jaro Tapal's broken double-headed lightsaber, combining what was salvageable from Tapal's weapon with pieces of his new master Seer Junda's lightsaber. That's not just recycling, that's honoring your masters while creating something uniquely yours. The tactical advantages are obvious. Need crowd control? Keep it connected for that spinning staff action. Facing multiple opponents from different angles, split it up and go full Ahsoka mode. Plus, when wielded separately, the two halves of a split saber would appear to be two ordinary lightsabers to someone who is not familiar with the weapon. Your enemies won't know what hit them when you suddenly double your blade count mid-fight. Picture this, you're trying to sneak into the Jedi Temple for some late-night archive browsing. Suddenly, masked figures emerge from the shadows, wielding thick, imposing lightsaber variants featuring two rare yellow plasma blades on each side of the staff. Congratulations! You've just met the Temple Guards and their signature weapon, the Lightsaber Pike. These aren't your average double-bladed sabers. Temple Guards used Lightsaber Pikes, which had a much longer handle and shorter blades compared to typical double-bladed lightsabers. Think of it as the difference between a quarterstaff and nunchucks. Same general idea, very different execution. The yellow blades aren't just for show either. Yellow lightsaber pikes were employed by Jedi Temple Guards to protect the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. These majestic-looking lightsaber pikes were linked to the function and were wielded to accomplish specific tasks. They weren't personal weapons. They were tools of the office passed down from guard to guard. Here's a mind-blower. The Grand Inquisitor used to be a Temple Guard before his heel turned to the dark side. The Jedi Temple Guards, including the Grand Inquisitor, had a foldable lightsaber pike. That's right, these things could fold up for easy storage, because even ancient warrior monks appreciate good ergonomics. But the coolest part? Darth Bane wielded a unique lightsaber pike with an unconventional fiery orange blade. Leave it to the Sith to take a defensive approach and make it terrifying. Though, to be fair, when you're establishing the rule of two and reshaping Sith philosophy forever, you get to rock whatever weapon you want. It is obvious that this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with a lightsaber. Count Dooku didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk with one of the most refined lightsaber designs in the galaxy. The curved hilt lightsaber is what happens when you prioritize finesse over brute force. The curved design isn't just aesthetic, it's all about biomechanics. The angle of the hilt changes your grip, which changes your leverage, which changes everything about how you fight. It's particularly suited to Makashi, that dueling focused form we mentioned earlier. The curve allows for more precise blade control and those nasty little flicks of the wrist that can slip past an opponent's guard. Dooku made this design famous during the Clone Wars, but he wasn't the only one rocking the curve. Asajj Ventress, his apprentice, wielded paired curved hilts that could connect into a double-bladed weapon. Though, as we mentioned, she preferred to keep them separate because why limit yourself? The curved hilt represents a philosophy as much as a fighting style. It's about control, precision, and the belief that a lightsaber duel is as much an art form as it is combat. In a galaxy full of aggressive, straightforward fighters, the curved hilt wielder is playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Fun fact, in the old expanded universe, several other notable duelists adopted curved hilts after seeing their effectiveness. It became something of a status symbol among lightsaber connoisseurs, the weapon of choice for those who saw themselves as artists rather than mere warriors. Imagine being in a lightsaber duel, and just when your opponent thinks they've got your measure, you hit a switch and your blade suddenly doubles in length. Surprise! You're now wielding the lightsaber equivalent of a Swiss Army knife. The dual-phase lightsaber is all about adaptability. Using special focusing crystals and adjustable emitter matrices, these sabers can change their blade length on the fly. We're talking anything from Shoto length, about half a meter, to full pike length, up to 3 meters, with just the flick of a switch. In Legends, Corran Horn famously used a dual-phase silver-bladed lightsaber that could extend to surprise opponents who thought they were safely out of range. The psychological advantage alone is worth the extra engineering. Nothing messes with an opponent's head like constantly changing reach. The technical side is fascinating too. Most lightsabers lock their blade length when the focusing crystal aligns with the emitter. Dual-phase sabers use multiple crystals or special cycling systems that allow for rapid realignment mid-combat. It's like having multiple weapons in one. Perfect for Jedi who value versatility over raw power. The downside, complexity means more things can go wrong. A dual-phase saber requires more maintenance and has more potential points of failure. Plus, switching lengths mid-combat requires perfect timing. Mess it up and you might find yourself with no blade at all for a crucial second. But for those who master it, the dual-phase saber turns every duel into a guessing game where you hold all the cards. Okay, technically the Darksaber isn't that obscure anymore thanks to the Mandalorian, but come on, a black-bladed lightsaber that's flat rather than cylindrical? This thing deserves a spot on any list of unusual sabers. Created 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian to join the Jedi Knights, the Darksaber is basically what happens when Mandalorian engineering meets Jedi mysticism. The result? A weapon that's part lightsaber, part cultural artifact, part symbol of leadership. The blade itself defies conventional lightsaber physics. Instead of the typical cylindrical plasma beam, the Darksaber emits a flat, sword-like blade of black energy outlined with crackling white. It even sounds different. Less of a hum, more of a threatening electrical crackle that says, "I'm not your average plasma sword." But here's the real kicker. The Darksaber has weight. Not physical weight, but emotional weight. The blade responds to the wielder's emotional state, becoming heavier and harder to control when you're conflicted or fighting without purpose. It's like the galaxy's most judgmental therapist in weapon form. The whole whoever wins it in combat becomes the rightful ruler of Mandalore thing, pure Mandalorian drama, and we love it. This isn't just a weapon, it's a crown, a responsibility, and a burden all rolled into one obsidian black package. Picture a lightsaber, but with a perpendicular grip extending from the side. That's a Tonfa Saber, basically what happens when police batons and lightsabers have a very defensive baby. The design comes from traditional Okinawan Tonfa, those T-shaped weapons martial artists use for blocks and strikes. In lightsaber form, this translates to unprecedented defensive capabilities. The perpendicular handle allows you to hold the weapon along your forearm, creating a shield of plasma that covers way more area than a traditional grip. In Legends, Maris Brood wielded dual Tonfa-style lightsabers with distinctive guard Shotos. These specialized weapons allowed her to adopt an incredibly aggressive Jarkai variant, using the perpendicular grips to create spinning attacks that were nearly impossible to penetrate. The tactical advantages are obvious. Superior blocking angles, the ability to trap opponents' blades, and unique striking options using the pommel end. The grip position also changes the entire dynamic of lightsaber combat, allowing for techniques that would be impossible with a standard hilt. The learning curve, however, is steep. Traditional lightsaber forms don't really translate to Tonfa grips, meaning wielders essentially have to develop their own fighting style from scratch. It's high risk, high reward. Master it and you're nearly untouchable, but the journey to mastery is longer than most Jedi are willing to commit to. Last, but definitely not least, let's talk about the Shoto, the lightsaber equivalent of a wakizashi to the standard saber's katana. These shortened blades might seem less impressive at first glance, but in the right hands, they're absolutely lethal. Shotos typically feature blades about half the length of standard lightsabers, making them perfect offhand weapons for dual wielders. Ahsoka Tano made the Shoto standard combo famous using her shorter yellow-green blade for defense, while her main blade went on the offensive. But Shotos aren't just backup weapons. Yoda's lightsaber was essentially a Shoto scaled to his size, and we all know how that worked out for him. The shorter blade allows for incredibly fast movements and techniques that would be impossible with a full-length saber. In tight quarters, a Shoto wielder has a significant advantage. Luke developed a new fighting technique incorporating his standard blade and a shorter Shoto weapon to counter Lumiya's light whip. That's right, sometimes the best counter to an exotic weapon is to go back to basics, just smaller. The philosophy behind the Shoto is simple. Not every problem needs a big solution. Sometimes finesse beats force, speed beats strength, and precision beats power. In a galaxy obsessed with bigger and badder weapons, the humble Shoto reminds us that good things really do come in small packages. And there you have it, folks. 10 lightsaber designs that prove the galaxy far, far away is way more creative than just laser sword go brr. From the flexible fury of the light whip to the defensive perfection of the Tonfa Saber, each of these weapons tell a story about its wielder and their philosophy. Did we miss your favorite obscure lightsaber design? Got a theory about why Temple Guards specifically chose yellow blades? Drop a comment below and let's keep this nerdy conversation going. We've got plenty more Star Wars deep dives coming your way, so make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out. Until then, may the Force be with you.